Welcome to Bass Talk, presented by Z-Man. I'm Jason Meninger, FLW Tour Pro, and today we've got a special guest with us coming from the Bassmaster Elite Series, Mr. Stephen Browning.
Hey, gang.
Yeah.
And there we are. I knew I had a crowd.
There's the man. So you got your golf shirt on. I guess you went golfing today. In this 100-degree heat out there in Arkansas. How'd that go today, Stephen?
Well, I didn't actually do the golf, and my son was in a little junior golf tournament this morning. Finished up third, won his division. So we've had a pretty good summer on the golf trail.
You gotta love that. You gotta love that. It's got to be brutal with the heat. I mean, we're down here in Atlanta, Georgia, and literally this past week, it was so nice about 2 weeks ago. And then I got back from Champlain, and then I get back home, and it's like 105 degrees down here, and it's just nasty. There's no wind, but this is like dog days, summertime fishing. So
it absolutely is, and one of the things that people think, in a lot of places you can still catch them super deep, during the hot part of the summertime. But realistically, this is when you catch them in the shallow water just about as good as you do during the springtime, just because of the oxygen level is kind of depleted down there in that deeper ranges and most reservoirs. So, that's when I like it. The hotter it gets, it's not really that bad. So long as you can tolerate it, the fish will still bite.
Yeah, I've noticed too that a lot of, this time of year you see a lot of bluegill up real shallow. So I think some of them are done spawning, some are still on beds, but that also brings them up shallow too. So it's...
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the forage fish are generally in that shallow range too, but that's just one of those misconceptions about a lot of fishermen thinking that, boy, the hotter it is, the deeper I need to fish, and that's just not the case a lot of time during the true dog days of summer.
Dog days, and we're going to have some. It looks like this heat's going to be around for a little while. So you were up north here. The last couple of events have been really good for you. You've made 2 cuts. You coming off of an 11th place finish up at Green Bay at the Mystery Lake. I want to talk a little bit about that. There was a lot of intrigue around this particular tournament and what they did, what Bass did. And then it kind of went the other direction, because apparently when they made the announcement that you guys were going to be up at Green Bay, and they limited, or at least the DNR limited the kind of water that you could fish, or the boundaries, and that kind of was a big surprise to a lot of guys, and it kind of puts you in a smaller area. Tell us about that. I mean, what went through your mind when you found out about the boundaries, and then how did that affect your game plan when you got up there?
Well, I knew that we actually were notified like about 10 days out that we were going to be restricted how far up north that we could go. And, the bad thing about it, when they put those restrictions on, it seemed like it not only did it restrict the size of the body of water that we were fishing, which still was over, in 120,000 acres that we were able to fish, but boy, did it ever shrink the size of the playing field, in a sense of there was a lot of boats on top of each other. And, literally bumping boats and it's amazing that, and Jason, I'm sure you're very well of this too. When you go to big bodies of water, man, do they not just fish small. It seems like everybody finds, it's like there's a small area that holds the quality fish, and it seems like everybody finds those areas, and it just seems like you just pile in on top of each other. And I'll be honest, I fished out there on the big lake, and what I'm saying on the big lake is up towards that northern part of the boundary line that they put us on for 2 days, and I never fared that well. I just never got anything going that I thought would even come close to making the first cut, yet alone the second cut. Yeah. And that's when I just kind of backed up and played my cards that I like playing, and those are those river cards. And I was able to find enough fish in the river itself, and didn't have to make the long boat runs out there, to those upper regions. So it worked out real well for me at Green Bay.
Were there a lot of guys fishing the rivers too? Because what I read about was, a lot of people were going up close to Sturgeon Bay to where the border was. There was Little Sturgeon, there's another bay up there, and like you said, they were all on top of each other, doing the drop shot deal, and obviously some moving baits were thrown too. But when you went into the river, did you kind of have that to yourself, or were there some
No,
other guys?
actually, I want to say that there was either 5 or 6 of us that actually were fishing in the river, and I'm pretty confident that 5 of us, maybe all 6, made it all
Really?
3 days.
Really?
Sure did. And the thing about it was, 5 of us out of the 6 were fishing right on top of each other. It was just like a rotation, and I'm serious. It's just it's like getting a football field and cutting it off the 50-yard line and the goal line and saying, okay, there's 5 boats out there in that little area. So it was just a really weird situation where, what fish were in the river was practically like they were out there at the lake. They were really congregated up on some moving water, and that's where all 5 of us found. So
cool.
Just those deals.
Now, taking a step back, looking at the Mississippi River. When I think about the Mississippi River, I think of big, muddy water with big oxbows and dirty water fishing, kind of like Arkansas River kind of fishing. But was that the case, or was it a different kind of fishery up there in the northern part of
the northern Mississippi is it's much more like the Arkansas River. It's you can. You're a hop, skip, and a jump from either side, either border. We were able to fish Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa waters in that event.
Wow.
And it was another one of those tricky deals. I mean, Minnesota, you couldn't cull. Iowa, you had to be out by 1 o'clock of an afternoon.
Really?
And so, I mean, we had a book that was an inch thick of all the regulations that we had to go by, and it was just like, man, why can't we just fish? But it was just different regulations in different states that we had to go by. And again, there was a situation where there were a lot of fish caught in the backwater areas. On those bodies of water the 3 pools that we were able to fish. But again, I feel a lot more comfortable being out in the river itself.
Sure.
And kind of utilizing the current to position the fish. And it worked out real well for me. I had 2 good limits of fish the first 2 days. The third day, I actually chose to stay in Minnesota, where and threw back. And you think I'm crazy, but I mean, I threw back probably 10 to 12 keeper fish that were in that 2 to 2.25 pound range, just simply because I was wanting to try to catch 3 pound. I had in my mind I was going to keep anything from 2.5 and up, and it was just one of those deals where I had like 6 of those type bites, landed 4 of them, and those were the 4 that I weighed in at the end of the day.
Interesting. So that it's a little extra strategy that you got to kind of
tried to. Well, the deal was that the Minnesota water, once people got over there and caught their limits or finished up their limits, they all left.
Yeah.
So, like from about 10 o'clock to the end of the tournament, there wasn't anybody in Minnesota. So you had that entire Minnesota stretch to fish.
Yourself.
And I caught a lot of fish, but I don't think it had near the quality and quality up there being that 3 to 3.5 pounder, where quality down south may be a 4 to 5 pounder. So
Gotcha.
it's just it was just a different game plan and a different mindset that you had to have up there.
Now, did you lock? Was it a locking scenario too, where you had to
I did,
add that to the mix too?
But I'll tell you guys this, and all the Z fans out there, they know that when you start locking on river systems, how difficult it can be to make a lock or miss a lock and all that. Up there, they literally they stopped traffic when it was our time to lock. They put us in and got us through. The barges played second fiddle to us, and you don't get that very often. But that's twice I've been up there, and both times they have literally shut the river down to accommodate us to get us back and forth in the lock system. So it's a pretty easy deal.
Now, speaking of Z-Man, I'm sure you used some Z-Man baits in the last couple of events. What, either in practice or in the tournament? So what exactly did you use, and how'd you fish it?
Well, one of the things that I've really fallen in love with is the little 3-inch minnows on the back end of the chatterbaits. Okay. And that minnows is a paddle tail style bait, and I use super glue to put it on, and to attach it to the head, and it just allows it not to pull free.
Sure.
And you can't believe the number of pike that we were going through, and I'm serious, standard soft plastics, I mean, guys were going through bags and bags and bags of them. Where I was, and it's you think, dead gum, man, why would they not do that? But I could use one and it would last me a half a day, even catching all those pike and still have good action. Okay. So awesome. That was probably my number one go-to bait up there that really worked out well for me from Z-Man.
How about up in Green Bay? What in the rivers? What were you doing? What type of fishing were you doing up in
up there, I was throwing a lot of different things. I actually used the new paddlers that we have. I actually used the scented paddlers. I don't know what it is about scent and smallmouth. It just seems like they work hand in hand. And I threw it just on a Texas rig worm, a little bullet weight in front, to kind of keep the grass and stuff off. And the pearl is one of my favorite colors. And was swimming around the rocks and around the around that grass and stuff up the river to generate some strikes up there.
So were the fish relatively shallow then around that grass?
Oh, yes, yes. Okay. Nice. I mean the neat thing about it is the water temperature was 80 degrees up there, and I was catching them in 2 feet of water. So a lot of guys were saying that they were in the clear water. Now, the water that I fished in Green Bay, it was dingy. I mean, you only had, probably 6-7 inches of visibility there. Sure. But water up in the upper regions of the boundary, it was gin clear. I mean, those guys were actually, doing a lot of sight fishing, but not bed fishing. And they did a lot of bed fishing too. So.
Were there a lot of largemouth caught in this event? I was wondering about that too. Was there anybody finding any largemouth in the shallower areas in the bays and stuff, or no?
Not in the Green Bay tournament. They did. Okay. They caught very, very few smallmouth. The lacrosse tournament, largemouth were probably the predominant fish that weighed in, and they were a little bit heavier than the smallmouth. Yeah. But I'll back up. On the Green Bay tournament, there were few largemouth weighed in.
Just not a lot of largemouth in that area of the lake? Or?
I don't guess there was. And I don't know if it was because we didn't go to the bays that had a bigger concentration of backwater. Right. I mean, some bays that we were fishing were really main lake type deals, so they weren't way off the main lake. And I don't know if that was the reason that there just wasn't a big largemouth population in those areas or not, but they just didn't play a big factor there.
I got you. Good deal. So now, I guess you guys got 5 weeks before the next event? You got a big break, so it gives you some time to kind of recharge yourself and. Yeah.
No big break, no recharging.
No recharging. You're headed to iCAST then next week.
iCAST, that's right.
Yeah. So tell everybody, iCAST, for those of you guys that are watching this back at home, iCAST is the industry trade show where all the manufacturers show up and have all their new products for next year to the buyers, the dealers, their distributors, and that kind of thing. And all the big-time bass pros show up, and they're doing product demonstrations and that kind of thing. So you're going to be at the Z-Man booth. And you're probably going to be at a few other companies' booths as well, I'd imagine, while you're out there.
I actually have 6 sponsors that will be at iCAST, and I just kind of rotate throughout the day and spend an hour and 15, 20 minutes in each of them's booth, doing a lot of new product review for the media, and then once we'll be in iCAST, I'll be there Tuesday through Saturday. The actual show is Wednesday through Friday. But I'm actually Monday driving to Detroit, flying to Orlando, participating in iCAST, and then flying back up to Detroit to fish the Northern Bass Open after next. Yeah. So when you said a little downtime, I'm like, I can't spell downtime right now.
Is that the second Open or the last Northern Open?
Yes, sir. It'll be the second Open. Sure will be.
And where was the first one? Was on the James? Is that right? The
James River.
Yeah. So you cashed over there, didn't you? How did you do in the James?
Cashed over there.
Okay.
Yes. I went from Toledo, but my month of June was Toledo Bend, James River, La Crosse, Wisconsin, and Green Bay, all back to back to back to back.
Does the James fish like the Potomac, or is it not as good, obviously, or the weights didn't seem to be as good.
No, it's not near it. It's nowhere in the ballpark as the Potomac, but it does fish. It's that tidal water, and you kind of capitalize, on that tide bite. So in which I like fishing them. That was one of the reasons I chose to fish the Northerns. They're in bodies of water that I really like fishing and fits my style of fishing.
Yeah.
And with the win and you're in type deal that bass has now,
Yeah.
you know, it's not about playing the points. It's about finding the places that fit your style of fishing,
Yeah.
and trying to win one.
Is there what's the next one after Detroit? What's the last one?
Lake Cayuga, and it's south of Syracuse. It may be one of the, you know, the Five Finger Lakes or whatever they call the Finger Lakes up there in New York.
Yep.
It's just I think it's in Seneca Falls, New York, which is kind of south and a little bit west of Syracuse. So it'll be on the way to the to our last elite up there at Oneida.
Well, you're going to get your taste of smallmouth in the next.
Oh,
next few
absolutely,
minutes.
absolutely. You better know it.
Well, that's great. Listen, it's been great to talk to you today. We're excited about iCAST, and I know we're going to do some stuff with you over there at the Z-Man booth, so we're excited about that. And good luck to you. I know you want to finish strong at the Oneida event, and then certainly you want to try to win one of these so you can get to the Classic in 2013. We wish you all the best of luck, and I know you're going to do good. So be safe, be careful, and thanks again for your time today, Stephen.
You bet, Jason. I appreciate you guys watching. Absolutely.
All right,
Thanks.
Thank you very much.